Today on the channel, with the help of a great friend of the channel, we'll be looking at a Mythic Legions figure for the first time on Way I Got It Figured.
The way I got it figured.
What's up, figure fans? Way I Got It Figured, back with another review. This time, we're looking at our first ever Mythic Legions figure. One of my good friends collects these, started collecting them. He's really into the fantasy kind of sword and sorcery element of things, and his collection is sort of taking a turn towards that, and that's all cool. But he had an extra one of these. He wanted me to review it, and so I'm going to do that. I've had this figure for a while. I definitely wanted to make sure that I was going to be doing it justice to review it, and of course, it happens right after we start having some technical difficulties with our lighting and all that kind of stuff, which is, unfortunate, but we got to do the best we can. So, in an effort to spruce up the lighting a little bit, while I figure out another solution, we're going to go with this. So Mythic Legions is done by the Four Horsemen. The Four Horsemen are famed action figure sculptors and designers who came to prominence after the Masters of the Universe 2000X line. From there, they went on to do the Masters of the Universe Classics line and some things, here and there. And Mythic Legions is their latest project, and it's a big deal. They got a big dragon coming out and a bunch of really cool stuff. You can check them out on mythiclegions.com. Where they got all kinds of cool stuff. As far as like sword and sorcery and stuff, of course I like that stuff, but it's not my main sort of lens to look at things through. But it's not like I don't like it. So these figures are very well articulated, very intricate, and everything like that. And I didn't want to open it for the longest time because I was, worried about, oh man, do I got to heat this thing up and all this kind of stuff, extra stuff that I don't generally have to worry about with Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe Classified series. Yeah, sometimes you got to heat them up, but it's not like you got to do it ahead of time. But with this figure, we're going to go through all the precautions. We're going to take the time to do that. As usual, we're going to look at the packaging, uh, take it out, pose it around. We'll compare it with some other 6-inch 1/12 scale figures and get you out of here with some final thoughts. So starting with the package, it's a nice simple package. Got a backdrop in there. You got your armor knight, which is like a generic character in here. And you got your dark and you got your light armies. And you got some text on the back. A nice little symbol. I'm not sure what it is or what it means. 4 horsemen at the top. And so it reads as follows. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I've actually got it in the screen. You can just pause and read it if you like. But it's a nice little sort of explanation of what's going on there. And there you go. So next, we're going to get them out. I'll do all the precautionary things, and we'll check them out. All right, so we've got our armored knight out of the package, and I just want to say right off break that the preparatory phase that you got to like heat up the figure and all of this stuff to make sure they don't snap or whatever, it might be a bit exaggerated. I took them out, I handled them, and I mean, it was a dream. It was a dream to handle. Everything posed like it's supposed to. Everything works. I didn't have to force anything. Nothing sticking. There's no sticking joints or anything like that. So I didn't have to do anything. I could have just reviewed this figure on day one and not had worry about all of the, you know, trappings of just sort of things you hear in the industry about these figures, and as nice as they are. But this figure works perfectly. There's nothing you need to do but take it out of the package and go ahead and start playing with it. So, as you can see, it comes with a lot of accessories. I'm going to go through them. Two of them, I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do with them. I'd have to look online for see kind of what people were doing with them and everything like that. So, unfortunately, not being a big Mythic Legions guy, as I already admitted, I don't know what to do with those, but we'll get to it. So first off, we've got our figure, and this guy just looks great. And when I look at it, it looks like it could be a good guy or a bad guy, depending. Like, maybe it's they don't really have like a kind of a thing. There's no play pattern that you have to follow with Mythic Legions. Um, like this guy, he could be just a dude in red, and maybe they like dragons where he comes from or whatever, or maybe it is a bad guy, and this is the armor he wears. I'm pretty sure the head comes off. You can switch out the heads, even though this one doesn't come with that. But you do have options to display these guys. I mean, you have options, and as far as the posability and everything, like I said, everything works top notch. There's nothing you have to do here. You got your standard articulation, so you got your wrist bend and swivel. You got your forearm rotation. You got your pretty deep elbow rotation. Bends at the shoulder. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff, really. Everything works smoothly. It's not difficult to manipulate. He's just sort of doing it. Got his waist rocker. Kicks pretty good. Kicks back pretty good. Pretty deep there. Got your ankle pivot side to side. Goes up to about there. Goes down pretty far. I mean, but I'm not doing anything but just moving the figure around. So head turns pretty good. As far as his accessories, you got a lot of options here. And this figure is definitely set up for army building. No doubt about it. I mean, just the number of combinations you could do is is pretty cool. Because you can only carry so many of these weapons at one time. Um, so yeah, if you got your kind of stick here to either have a spiked ball or a mace. You got your mace. Leave it like that for now. You've got a bastard sword. You've got a long sword with a sheath. Shield. Two pauldrons. And then you've got these. These are the belts that I was talking about. They look like they could be shoulder straps, but I'm not sure. I tried to put them on pre just to see what they were supposed to be. If you're able to put them on their waist, I'm not going to take the figure apart if that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know. So, you know, but needless to say, you got plenty of options for display. So I'm going to gear them up and we'll look at them like that. And then we'll do some comparisons. All right, we're back with our Mythic Legion's Knight with his initial gear setup. So basically, I really like the bastard sword. So I thought I would set him up with that. It got his pauldrons on, and you know, it looks great. You know, I want the bastard sword to be straight, sort of being a perfectionist, but it's difficult to do in the confines of plastic. But that works. And then set him up with the shield and the mace. And finally, we'll give him the long sword. And you get a pretty good feel for his accessories. They all go in his hand pretty easily. Nothing to fuss about there. You put him in a more dynamic pose. And like I said, figure looks great. Pose is great. Plastic is nice and sturdy. There's nothing substandard about this. Paint apps are all over the figure. Pretty awesome. Very intricate. I mean, there's not really much I could say bad. I mean, there's nothing I can say bad about this figure. Even if it's not in the wheelhouse of what I collect, it looks great. So what we're going to do next is some comparisons. So starting with comparisons, we've got Jada Toys Guile. Marvel Legends, 20th anniversary of Marvel Legends, Captain America. G.I. Joe Classified Series, Retro Card Duke and Cobra Commander. And last, certainly not least, Mafex Hush Batman. That's a range of 6-inch figures, 1/12 scale figures. Some of them in slightly different scale, but you know, as you can see, none of them look like completely wrong with this Knight guy. So, as you can see, it's a great figure, and I think we can move on to final thoughts. Final thoughts on the Four Horsemen Mythic Legion Red Knight figure. If I was in the Mythic Legions and had the money to collect Mythic Legions, this certainly would be a great start. And I am certainly going to petition my sponsor in this regard for future releases to review on the channel. These figures are a dream to handle. They work, fine. They stand. You know how I am about standing on this channel. An action figure is supposed to be able to stand. Standing, stands on its own. Nothing's tight, overly tight. Nothing's overly loose. And holds its weapons well. They've done a more than adequate job. I certainly see why these action figures have become sort of a, kind of a cult following with people who collect them. And, it's only the source material that keeps me from buying them. Now, I do know they have another line of like high tech guys that they have too. And, I'll look into that, see if my buddy's going to be getting any of those. I would certainly love to get my hands on one of those at least to review for sure. So I don't think it needs to be, I'm going to have to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole for me to tell you that this is a 10 figure. And this is a very basic version of what they produce. This is a 10 and it's basic. This is like a basic Mythic Legion. It's nothing super exciting to write home about in terms of what they do. So yeah, I can't do anything but recommend this figure to anybody who would be into Mythic Legions, if that's what you collect or were thinking about collecting. Certainly have to worry about the price, and with things happening with tariffs and everything like that, probably gonna have to worry about the price even more. But it's definitely a worthy thing to have in a collection if that's your thing. So that's gonna be it for this review. Sorry it took me so long to do it. I feel a great wave of regret that I could have played around with this figure a month ago and maybe been on to another one. But I do like to review things on the channel that I don't collect myself, and so I have to get those from friends of mine and things like that for review. And this is certainly uh, a great thing, a great figure line. If this basic figure is just the basic example of what they're doing, then these things are pretty great indeed. If this is just a basic version of what they're doing on a regular basis, then this is pretty great indeed. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Till next time, everybody stay safe, happy collecting. See you on the next video. Peace.
The way I got it figured.